It is wonderful to be with so many people that are courageously standing for truth and for the God-given rights of every single person. Last year, we were reminded that we cannot take gatherings like this for granted. Some of you may recall that what happened just a little over a year ago at NatCon in Brussels. But allow me for a moment, that those who aren't aware of it, to just take you back to that moment, which was the political heart of Europe. NatCon was scheduled to kick off on a rainy Tuesday, and early on there were signs of trouble. First of all, the venue that was first assigned to host this event backed out under pressure from activists. And then a second one mysteriously backed out as well. But the third venue stood strong despite pressure, and on a Tuesday morning, the event began. The meeting ran successfully until just around lunchtime. And that's when the event took a dramatic turn. Those that were waiting outside heard sirens coming down the streets in the distance. Police began to swarm the area. There were armored cars, riot officers in riot gear. They entered the building presenting a 4-page decree from the mayor ordering the conference to be shut down. The mayor's justification was truly astonishing. NatCon speakers were reputed to be traditionalists, he wrote. They also may hold ethically conservative views, like hostility to legalized abortion, or even, heaven forbid, a Eurosceptic attitude. Police barred anyone else from entering the room, even as the conference went on. A former British member of parliament had to be snuck in the back door through the side door, even to get to the place where she could present her speech. One of our lawyers was due to speak, but was blocked from entering the room, while another one of our lawyers was already inside. And given our work in defending these rights around the world, we offered to help. We quickly filed 2 legal challenges in the Brussels courts to remove the blockade. We failed. Both of them failed. But miraculously, the highest court in Belgium for such matters agreed to hear the 3rd challenge that we filed, and in a middle-of-the-night hearing ruled in our favor, so that by dawn the mayor's order was overturned and the conference could resume. I do recall the sense of relief. The US team was at an event all together, and the international team was all focused on Brussels, and the Signal chats were filled with cheers and relief that it was able to open and resume. Many called it a victory for free speech. But I have to tell you, what also filled that Signal chat was that this wasn't the end, that we weren't so sure it was the resounding victory for free speech. Because we kept asking, why had it taken 3 challenges and a ruling from one of the highest courts in Belgium to allow a peaceful gathering of citizens, of thinkers, and clergy to move forward? What does that say about the state of free speech in Europe and across the West? All of you who are here today know the truth. This is not an isolated incident. And while this episode was resolved favorably, many have not been. Europe has become ground zero for a censorship regime that is gripping the West in this moment. We can cite to countless examples, some of which I'll share today, that remind us that censorship takes a profoundly human toll. It is an affront not just to our ideas, but to our very souls. And that's because the right to speak is the wellspring of all other rights. It secures our right to practice our faith, to live according to the truth, and to exercise our consciences. And it limits government. You see, these rights don't come from the government. They are pre-political. They are bestowed by our Creator. Now, you may be thinking, it's a good thing we're in America. It's a good thing that we have an administration that has helped to turn the tide against censorship and cancel culture. And you would be right. I am glad about that. But I also want to emphasize today 2 very uncomfortable truths. First, censorship abroad is not self-contained. It affects our rights here at home, just as censorship by the US government and by big corporations has a ripple effect overseas. And second, while there has been a change of power in America, there has not yet been a change of heart. The censors may be in retreat in this moment, but they are still here, and they are still in the institutions, waiting for the pendulum to swing back. So our task is to seize the moment, to fortify the gains, and to lead the world in the defense of truth and all who dare to speak it. Through our work as a global legal organization, I've seen that people in other countries, more than at any time in recent memory, they're looking to America to defend these rights, in some cases against their very own leaders. So answering this call is not the task of any one organization. It takes all of us acting together in the nations and the states where God has placed us to form a chain of conviction that runs across the globe, defending the God-given rights that are intrinsic to each person. This is not just a political cause, it is a deeply spiritual and human one. Just ask our client, Adam Smith Connor, a British Army veteran. More than 2 decades ago, Adam and his then-girlfriend made a tragic decision to abort their unborn child. After Adam's conversion to Christianity, the weight of that decision became unbearable to his conscience. So one quiet day in November of 2022, he went to an abortion facility to remember the son that he had lost and to stand in silent prayer. He stood across the road, obscured by a tree, with his back to the entrance, not obstructing or confronting anyone, just praying in his own head for his son and for those that were facing hard choices on that day. For this, Adam was approached by 2 officers who interrogated him on the nature of his prayer. Those few minutes of prayer led to criminal charges and a 4-day trial. 2 years later, in October of 2024, Adam Smith Connor became the first citizen in modern British history to be convicted for what can only be referred to as a thought crime. His case is on appeal today. But sadly, he is not alone. The United Kingdom, our friend and our ally, is on a downward spiral of censorship. Their imposition of censorship zones preventing free speech near abortion facilities has led to other convictions too. Livia Tossici-Bolt is another ADF client, and she was convicted for peacefully offering conversation in a censored space. And it gets worse. In Scotland, as Vice President Pence pointed out earlier this year in his outstanding speech in Munich, the censorship zone law could even affect people that are praying visibly in their own homes, if the wrong person happens to be walking by and they are near such a facility. And then there are the so-called digital speech laws right now, the hate speech laws. These have led to an astounding wave of arrests. Right now, it's recorded more than 12,000 in the UK in a single year for nothing more than online posts. Surely, right now, in your mind, you're thinking about Graham Linehan, the comedian who was just arrested 2 days ago in Heathrow Airport for 3 posts that he made on Twitter that the officers found offensive. 5 officers showed up at the airport to arrest him. These hate speech or online safety laws are taking hold across Europe, and we must pay attention. They are a ruse, allowing bureaucrats to brand as hate any speech or ideology that they dislike. One of our clients, Päivi Räsänen, she's a Finnish grandmother of 12 who previously served as Finland's Minister of the Interior. She stands right now criminally charged for sharing her faith-based views on marriage and sexual ethics in a 2019 tweet and a 2004 pamphlet she wrote for her church. And despite being acquitted in 2 lower courts already, prosecutors are continuing to dragging on with this case. It is now in its 7th year, and it will be heard next month at the Finnish Supreme Court. As if these cases were not enough, the EU is now taking its censorship a step further, not just prosecuting online speech it doesn't like, but preventing it entirely. They do so through the Digital Services Act, the most corrosive censorship regime in the West today. Known as the DSA casts a shadow across not only Europe, but America and the world. Yes, even Americans are affected. There are no words or there are magic words in the First Amendment. A report from the U.S. House Judiciary Committee confirmed that the DSA compels American social media companies to change their global policies, not just their European ones. Those policies affect what you see and even what you can say on your very own social media accounts, right here and right now. And as we are here today, That same committee is holding hearings on the effect of this act on Americans. You may recall last August when Elon Musk planned to interview Donald Trump on X, and Europeans' Commissioner for Internal Markets sent a letter to Musk threatening an extremely vigilant response for any negative effects of X's content in the EU. Think about that for a minute. Speech between two Americans in America, streamed by an American company, became a target for censorship by European bureaucrats. The internet has made it easier than ever for this assault on speech to go global. We can take the example of Chris Elston, commonly known as Billboard Chris. You've probably seen him online. He's a father of two, and he travels the world wearing sandwich board signs that have simple truths on them. Things like, children cannot consent to puberty blockers, or children are never born in the wrong body. Earlier this year, he posted an article on X about the appointment of a gender policy advisor at the World Health Organization, referring to her with biologically accurate pronouns. Australian authorities deemed the post cyber abuse and ordered its removal. Supported by ADF, Chris challenged the censorship, as did X, and this July, a tribunal in Melbourne ruled in his favor. But please understand, here was a Canadian citizen posting a British article on an American platform, forced to defend his free speech rights in Australia. That is the global nature of censorship today. And all of it raises a very fundamental question. Why do so many fight so hard to suppress speech? What is the fight really about? For them and for us. Václav Havel, the famous Czech dissident who later became the first president of the Czech Republic, spent years in prison for speaking against communism. In many of his writing, a core theme emerges: truth and its threat, and the threat and how it poses to tyranny. He once wrote of communism, "If the main pillar of the system is living a lie, then it is not surprising that the fundamental threat to it is living in truth." This is why truth must be suppressed more severely than anything else. A few months after writing these words, Havel was arrested, proving his point. There is no greater threat to tyranny than the freedom to live and to speak the truth. You see, even still today, censorship is the first tool of tyrants. While today's tyrants may not wear crowns or run gulags, they sit on panels, commissions, school boards, and city councils, and they are openly hostile to freedom and unmoored from objective truth. We can look no further than gender ideology, which is built on a manifest lie. The only way they can advance this ideology of falsehood is by silencing truth. Take Billboard Chris's sign: children are never born in the wrong body. Little more than a decade ago, you would be hard-pressed to find a single person that would disagree with that statement. What's changed since then isn't the truth. It is the censorship aimed at hiding the truth. By making such obvious truths unacceptable to speak in the public square, the censors can make even the most poisonous lie, one that causes great harm to children, seem mainstream and almost acceptable. The same can be said on life. The overwhelming scientific consensus we know is that life begins at conception. Many personally attest to the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical harms caused by abortion. Suppressing these truths, treating people like Adam as dangerous for daring to pray or to grieve, is essential to protecting the lie that abortion is harmless. So yes, truth is the first casualty of tyranny. But the real cost is always human. When we lose our right to speak, we lose our right to live, to act, and to raise our families in accordance with our most deeply held religious beliefs. I know this because I see it every day at ADF. Imagine fostering children for years, and you're the health department's first choice to care for newborns who are addicted to drugs. You know this because they've told you, until you tell them that boys are not girls, and the department revokes your license. Or you live in the state of Colorado, where you can face 4 months in jail right now if you misgender a customer. Or what if you escaped 20 years of sex trafficking and faced an unexpected pregnancy, only to be later targeted by your own state attorney general for helping other women in the same situation. Or you're ministering to widows and to orphans only to have your bank account closed and be denied access to the market because of your conservative or religious views. Or let's just say, during COVID, your daughter chooses to wear a Jesus Loves Me mask to her public school, and the school officials force her to remove it even though they are permitting progressive political messages on the masks of other students. Or imagine that you launched one of the world's most famous satire sites right now, the Babylon Bee, using wit and humor to expose the truth, only to have California pass 2 laws to shut down those jokes because Governor Newsom dislikes it. Or how about this one? One of our cases that will be heard next month at the United States Supreme Court. You go into counseling because you want to help kids live happy and healthy lives, and you want to help parents who are in difficult situations. And those parents and that child come to you, and it's a boy who is confused about his body and thinks he's a girl, but he asks you to help him live at peace with his biological sex. And so you step up to do that, to help him meet his goals. She faces losing her license in the state of Colorado right now, and on October 7th, the Supreme Court will hear that case. You see, all of these stories, every single one of them, they're not from Europe, they're from the United States. They're recent, and they are very real cases that are going on. At ADF, we've been honored to represent courageous warriors for truth and free expression, and they remind us that in America, even in the springtime of the conservative movement right now, there is no shortage of aspiring tyrants looking to silence the truth and punish those who dare to speak it. Thankfully, the Supreme Court has generally upheld free speech and religious freedom. And in the case of the Babylon Bee, we were grateful to see a federal judge rule in their favor just last week. But challenges to free speech emerge again and again and again, and we must face each one. The ultimate lesson here is that until truth is given complete freedom, freedom is not complete. So let me leave you with one final thought. As imperfect as we may be in the United States is the last country in the Western world that is still upholding robust religious freedom and free speech protections. Ponder that just for a moment. We are the last Western country in the world. And the fact that more and more our rights require a courtroom for their defense, often winning by 1 or 2 votes in the highest court of the land, should be a very deep warning to us all. If we grow complacent in this moment, if we begin to think that this vibe shift is permanent or self-sustaining, we will fail future generations. And worse, we will fail the soul of liberty itself, not just here, but everywhere. For as goes America, so goes the world. And while executive orders are worthwhile, now is the time to set legal precedents, to change laws, and to change hearts. Because the gains of this movement right now, many of them are written in sand, and it is our job to carve them into rock, knowing that this moment is just a moment. We are all well positioned to play a part, and maybe it's strange, but I am so grateful that we're here at NatCon, because when we're here, we don't have the luxury of thinking that it can't happen to us. If this very conference can be stormed by the police on a rainy Tuesday in Brussels, we must understand that our freedoms are not guaranteed. Now you might say, that was just Brussels. But Brussels is so much nearer than you think, as is London and Helsinki and Melbourne, even Beijing. What happens there affects us here more so than ever before in this digital age. But do not forget that there is a flip side. What we do here can spread there. So let us commit ourselves to living and speaking the truth, especially where it's threatened. We must stand tall in defense of the right to pray, to speak unpopular truth, even to tweet or post about it. We must seize the window of opportunity in America and not squander it. And as we do so, may we form the chain of conviction that stretches across the globe, defending the rights that God has given to every person. Thank you, and God bless you.